So the first thing we are going to be doing is talking about that this is a new year. We will talk about 2023 threats and opportunities. Of course, there are many of them, and we're just curated a number of stuff that makes sense to the realtors, and it's important for you as a realtor to be aware of. Then we will give you an update, as our president Carmen Arome said, on the city council on the ordinance introductions, which involved ban on plastics in the city of Glendale, as well as the sanitation refuse fee hike, which created a ruckus in the community. After that, we will talk a little bit about RAF and member mobilization, why it is more important than ever in 2023 to have your help in regards to this issue. And then, if time allows, Madam President, I will be sharing a video from Yes in My Backyard group. It's a 1:30 video that really, for example, on Laura Friedman's 2097, AB 2097, YIMBY group was the most ardent supporter of it, and through their help, that bill passed. All right, so let's talk about 2023. We know that Prop Edge in Pasadena passed. There is, as of December 22nd, there is a rent control ordinance in the city of Pasadena. As a matter of fact, on Monday evening, I attended their meeting because they were organizing the tenant board, which is going to have an outlay control over all matters involving rent control. This board will be consisted of about 11 members. 7 of them will be tenants, each from each district of the city of Pasadena. 4 of them would be at large, meaning anybody can apply and fill out an application so long as you live in Pasadena to be able to participate other than tenants. And 2 alternates, 1 for the tenants and 1 for the at-large group. Now, we know that right now, Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, in their latest editorial, sent out a warning based on Proposition H success in Pasadena. And the warning, and these are, I'm quoting Yokelson, their CEO, watch out, Glendale, rent control is on its way. So this is of concern to us, and we would be ready if an ordinance by way of legislators is being introduced on this issue, and or a citizen initiative will start shaping on this issue in the city of Glendale. For your information as well, Burbank is also concerned about the passage of Proposition H, because we want to make sure that we have in city of Glendale, for example, a tenant protection ordinance, which we think addresses everything quite handily, and we don't need a rent control or additional price controls in the city of Glendale. Now, the California Apartment Association also has got a lawsuit along with Howard Jarvis Group on ULA, United Los Angeles. This is the 5% or 4.5% and 5.5% increase in transfer tax, and also on Prop Edge. So we are waiting to see what courts rule and whether or not there will be injunctions on this stuff. As of today, there are none. And, but we will see in the next 2 weeks what these court procedures have in store for us. I want to warn you about another assembly bill that is making its way on throughout the legislatures, and that is limiting security deposits to 1 month. there is a bill currently at the Assembly that says, regardless of the financial conditions or financial status of a tenant, you cannot charge him more than 1 month security deposit. So this is the type of the bill that we would be ready on a state level to actually work and to make sure that it makes sense. You can't just do 1 month security deposit, especially if it's based on the financials of a tenant. The other one would be SB 37, which expands the eviction protections for senior adults, right? We already have under AB 1482 in California, eviction ordinances statewide that includes all of this stuff. But this is just an expansion of AB 1482, and of course, again, dealing with these issues affects the landlords, housing providers, realtors, their families, as well as their clients. One issue that is a major concern to all of us, or should be at least, is lowering the tax raising threshold to just 55% of majority of the legislators vote, or an initiative, a voters vote at 55%, if that concerns with affordable housing. Remember, in order to be able to increase the tax charging provision in the state of California, you were to have at least 3/4 of the voters to vote for it. But the Supreme Court ruled that if an initiative is started by nonprofits or voters, then that threshold comes down to about 50%. By the way, that's how ULA passed in Los Angeles and or City of Pasadena, Proposition H. And of course, CAR thinks that some of the major concerns, they call it or they dub it as zombie bills. These are bills that have been defeated but keep on showing up. We had an example of that in rent registry in state of California, if you remember, Buffy Weeks, and 4 times. It was defeated 4 times, and then perhaps the most liberal member of the Assembly, Alex Lee of San Francisco, picked it up along with Carrillo of, I'm going to say Glendale, because South Glendale now falls under her jurisdiction and under her district. So we have our work cut out in 2023. I'm sure this is not a surprise to you. And we will do our best to keep you abreast of things and to work with and oppose legislation that is deleterious to realtors, their clients, and private property rights. Let's talk about City Council and what happened last night. There were 2 ordinances that were introduced. One of them had to do with plastic waste reduction. This, by the way, will affect your retail tenants. And you can see the 6 provisions or the reasons why these things have been introduced, from prohibiting distribution, sale of polystyrene foodware, coolers, meat and fish trays, and egg cartons. Yes, egg cartons. I don't know how this is going to be enforced and whether or not Ralph's or Bunn's or Trader Joe's will pay attention to it, but that's part of the ordinance right now in the city of Glendale. Prohibition of use of single-use plastic straws, stirrers, and utensils. Now, for a takeout restaurant, this could be an issue. And to her credit, Council Member Astorian said that as opposed to having this stuff taking effect on April 24th, which was initially April 24th of 2023, which was initially planned for, why don't we give an educational component of this prior to even we thinking about enforcement and what have you. And so the council last night, there were only 3 present, 2 of them were on vacation. This thing will come back and the language of the ordinance will be solidified and codified in perhaps the next meeting. But this is coming, folks, right? It's an issue that needs to be addressed. And of course, we will chime in on it and our views with the city council. The next ordinance that was introduced was the rate hike in the sanitation refuse collection that generated just under 500 responses or protests. Why do I share that number with you? Because according to Prop 218 in state of California, unless you have 50% of the bin users, these are the 64-gallon, 96-gallon bins, trash collection bins. Unless you have 50% of the users, write a protest letter to the city, this proposition, this ordinance will go through and will be adopted. And so that I want you to pay attention to. There are 30,000 bins, 64 gallons and 96 gallons or 94 gallons, whatever they are, for 2 to 4 unit multifamily buildings, as well as residential or single family homes. So about 15,000 should be registering a protest before this thing can be stopped. One of the reasons why the city says that it's necessary to do that is because in the past 12 years, we've had 0 rate increase in the refuse collection in the city of Glendale. So for a period of 12 years, we have had, whereas the inflation has been like 2.5%, 3%, and holistically or naturally, we should have increased our rates by about 37, 38%. We haven't done it. The city of Glendale has not increased any rates. So obviously that now creates pressure on the rates and what have you. Of course, the other reasons are state law, like AB 1383 mandates compliance, and that costs money. Recyclable market in China collapsed. We used to get paid $380,000 a year to send off our recyclables to vendors that would then take it to China and recycle it and so forth. Now, the city of Glendale has to pay about $500,000 a year for those recyclables to be collected. And so these are some of the reasons, of course, Shoal Canyon closing that will happen in about 3 years. But from my reading of the ordinance, this contributes about 6 to 7% of the entire total cost increase. It'll be interesting to see, and one of the questions we will have for them is, if you have all of these factors, as you can see on your screen, enumerated, what percentage each factor contributes to the rate increase, right? And what is it that we can do about it? Of course, here is a bird's eye view of the costs, what they are today and what they will be in future. For example, on a 64-gallon cart, the current rate is $11.70 per month. Now you double that because we pay every 2 months, right? And now that will go up by 137% on the first increase, which is due on February, and that will go to about $27.76 per month. Or you double that, it will be like $54 per cycle per 2 months. And you can see that increases will continue at 25%, 25%, and then stabilize at 8% per year. And from there on, it will go up accordingly. On a 96-gallon, which is, by the way, what I have at my house, currently it's at $18.34, but it will increase by about 73%. This is the part of the chagrin, by the way, right? That it is an abrupt, a huge increase. But by the same token, if we are logical about this thing, you know, for 10, 12 years, the rates were not increased. Nobody complained about it, right? Now, this is not to say that this kind of a rent increase initially is appropriate. In my opinion, it's not. And on the top of page 6 of their report, they had said, and I shared this with you, that if 50% of ratepayers protest, then the city cannot and should not increase the rates. The question that follows is, well, if the city was not going to increase the rates, assuming 50% would protest, what contingency plans did they have in place? Where would that additional funding in order to keep the sanitation refuse collection intact come from? Was it Measure S? I'm hypothecating right now, right? Was it Measure S money? Was it from reserves? Was it from the refuse fund? What? And in our opinion, that's the starting point. In other words, at the very least, for the first rate hikes of 137% and 73%, the city should take a portion of that money that was collected from the taxpayers to begin with, right? And what better way of use of that money by returning it to the most vulnerable and needy people in our city? Should take that and apply it to at least to the first increase. We'll see how much of a success we will have with this thing. At any rate, I'm just trying to give you an idea of what's going on. To be fair, though, we have to understand that even with the rent increases, this is where the city of Glendale would fall in amongst the other cities. For example, city of Burbank, you see it's way higher than city of Glendale, city of Pasadena, which I've been told that they're going to be increasing their rates again, way higher. So, it's not unusual for the city of Glendale, the rate increases. But again, the problem is that abrupt method way in which the rate increases have been introduced. So we'll see on January 31st, which is what the continuation of last night's meeting was, what the entire or the full council meeting or the council meeting would yield. Again, if you want to talk to your clients, and we did this because your president, Carpenter, suggested that we need to, because we had calls from members on behalf of their clients and their families and themselves that they were concerned about this thing. So we will be definitely weighing in on this issue and perhaps find the best solution that we can. This is precisely why, folks, Realtor Action Fund, member mobilization is of utmost importance in 23 especially, because we are going to have a barrage incoming, bad ordinances, whether it's on the local level or state level. And it is important that we be able to count on your help in mobilizing our members whenever it's necessary and do the voluntary contributions, so those funds would be available to our association to find ridiculous proposed ordinances. With that, I thank you, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I have a video on this issue of increased housing production in the city of Glendale, in state of California, from the YIMBY group. If you allow me, I'll be happy to share it with you. It's a minute and 30 seconds.
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg.
So let's start with that.
California has a housing shortage and affordability crisis. Too many of our cities have made it illegal to build more homes. So people like Gabriella are forced to live far from their jobs and local services and spend hours every day stuck in traffic. All that driving and gridlock means we end up with more air pollution that makes people sick. In California, air pollution disproportionately impacts communities of color, and Wanda and her family are suffering because of it. In fact, cars and trucks are the largest source of climate pollution in California. That means that the climate crisis is getting worse because of the housing crisis. In addition to all the pollution, high housing costs push Californians to live in areas at high risk of dangerous wildfires. Because of climate change, these fires grow larger every year, putting more communities at risk and leaving Californians like Adrian without a place to live. The YIMBY movement is working to make it legal to build more multifamily homes in our cities. When we say yes to more homes near good jobs, transit, and walkable neighborhoods, we help Californians spend less time stuck in traffic and more time with their families while reducing the pollution that hurts both people and the planet. In order to solve the climate crisis, we have to solve the housing crisis by saying yes in my backyard to more homes.
And so, it makes a lot of sense when they say a housing policy is climate policy, right? Just wanted to share that with you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.